In the 8th year of being in love with Kevin, he still refused to acknowledge me as his fiancée. They stripped away my red carpet spot just to please his little canary. In front of the media, he used the same lips that had kissed me thousands of times to declare that we were nothing more than ordinary friends. Later, I told him seriously, "Don't hide, otherwise we won't even look like ordinary friends." His eyes turned slightly red and his voice trembled. "Am I really just your ordinary friend?" Chapter 1. When they told me to step away from the red carpet, I was still interacting with the fans. My fingers froze above the keyboard as I looked at my manager Misty in disbelief. "Why?" I asked. She sighed, gently stroking my wrist in a gesture of comfort. "Because she is backing," she whispered. I heard she was Kevin's sweetheart. Instinctively, my fingers tightened with nervousness. Kevin is my fiancé. I have loved him for 8 years. Even his famously demanding mother had already accepted me. Yet to him, I still had no name, no position. Not even Misty knew the truth. When I saw with my own eyes Julieta walking in on Kevin's arm, a suffocating pain gripped my chest, stealing my breath. I knew Kevin once had a childhood friend cherished by all his circle, someone pampered like their little darling. She had gone abroad in high school, yet whenever we dined with his friends, they would still bring her up. I opened a chat with one of them and sent a photo of Kevin with her. "Is this the girl you once mentioned?" It took him 5 minutes to reply. The word, typing, lingered on my screen for a long time before his answer came. "Yes, but I only said that as a joke. I didn't mean anything else." "Maybe Kevin didn't invite you because he didn't want you to get tired. Don't overthink. Do you want me to ask him for you?" I pressed my lips together and replied, "Thanks, no need. I already asked him. It's fine." After ending that brief exchange, I looked toward the two sitting in the front row. If Kevin turned his head, he would see Maes fiancée, stripped of the right to walk the red carpet with just one word from him. But he never looked my way. On stage, the host smiled as he read from his card. The nominees for Best Supporting Actress this year are. The big screen played clips of performances until it stopped on me, Julieta, and 2 other actresses. Nervous, I squeezed Misty's hand. She shot me a look and whispered in my ear, "Don't think about it, it's already decided. The award is Julieta's. Everything has been arranged." My heart lurched, and just as her last word fell, the name, Julieta, appeared in bold letters across the screen. Even the hosts, as professional as they were, could not hide their momentary surprise. Julieta glanced around with feigned shock until the man beside her leaned in and whispered something. From his lips, I read, "What are you waiting for? Go up. Didn't you want this award so badly?" He had asked me that same question countless times. "Don't you want to win an award?" And I always told him I would work hard. Kevin would smile and say, "Good, I'll be waiting. Keep it up." But he never really waited. When Julieta stood, the camera brushed past the man beside her. Kevin clapped indifferently. The voices of the audience dimmed slightly. He was clearing the path for her. Chapter 2. I didn't even know what expression to wear, and that single moment of emptiness had already become a trending topic. Julieta Best Supporting Actress, Jessica's expression. Opening the live forum, the uproar was deafening. The fans of a certain someone are hilarious. Before the award was announced, they swore their idol had it in the bag. When it went to someone else, they said it was rigged. So what now? Is it that their idol never wanted to win? I really don't know what to think. She made her fans believe she'd walk the red carpet, and in the end she didn't even show up. Then when someone else wins, she pulls a corpse-like face. She's fought so hard. Can't she be sad for a moment? She doesn't deserve all this hate. She hasn't hurt anyone. We all know how Julieta got that award. But we also know Jessica has talent. Don't make me laugh. Sure, Julieta's a queen. Even President Koo makes her soup and follows her to every shoot. Unlike a certain someone who isn't even fit to carry Julieta's shoes. Julieta deserves direct entry into high society. Jessica will never reach that level in her life. I kept staring at those comments until my eyes burned, as though something inside me was crumbling piece by piece. I searched for a video of Kevin and Julieta together. September 23rd, Julieta filming a scene with Kevin accompanying her the whole day. September 23rd, I had sent him 5 messages. He hadn't answered a single one. The next day, he texted, "I was busy yesterday." August 17th, Kevin appeared carrying a thermos, bringing soup to Julieta. I had practiced for 2 months, burning my hands countless times, perfecting soup I had cooked with all my love for him, trembling with fear and hope. He once told me, "It's delicious," and I had been happy the entire day. But in the end, that soup was meant for Julieta. If he had told me earlier, I would have been spared so much emotion. July 25th, they were photographed traveling together. That same day, Kevin gave me a bracelet. I clenched my wrist, the cold metal cutting into my palm. The physical sting helped hold back my tears. Misty frowned at me and suddenly said, "Smile. Don't look like that. This award is lost, but it doesn't matter. Life is long. You'll have more chances." I forced a smile, my eyes blurred with tears. Startled by the shimmer of them, she quickly covered my eyes with her hand and spoke gently. "It's okay. You're still young. Your life doesn't end today." Misty arranged for someone to drive me home. In the car, watching the scenery whirl past the window, my thoughts inevitably drifted back over all these years. I had loved Kevin for so long, but he had never really known. To him, our first meeting was at university. "Oh, you also went to City High School? What a coincidence." Yes, what a coincidence. For those 2 sentences, I lived 3 sleepless years over 1,000 days and nights. And in the end, I was just one more among his many little sisters. I had to manufacture countless coincidences just to barely become his friend. After graduation, he began taking over the family business, while I, against all advice, stepped into the entertainment industry. We saw each other again at a business dinner. Was the investor. I was the 3rd actress in the cast. "It's been a long time. You're acting now?" he asked. I answered simply, "Because I like it." At the wrap party, I found him smoking alone. On one side of the door were applause and celebrations. On the other side, it was just him. "Aren't you happy?" I asked. He leaned against the railing with a careless air, and when he turned to look at me, he crushed the cigarette with his fingers. Then he asked, "Jessica, do you like me?" Desire is like a cough impossible to hide. I was struck dumb in an instant. In that strange silence, his burning gaze traced my face and my body, and then he let out a dry laugh. "Little freshman girl, to be honest, you're not my type." That nickname instantly pulled me back to my bitter adolescence, a secret love echoing through a valley unanswered, unrewarded. The person I had chased all through my youth now stood before me, and with a voice both sweet and cruel, he said, "There is no future for us." I blinked hard, fighting back tears, and only managed to whisper, "Ah." Chapter 3. When I returned home, Kevin wasn't there. I turned on the lights and stood in the living room, scanning the space inch by inch with my eyes. This was only one of his many properties, but stubbornly, I called it home. I used to love sitting on the sofa, waiting for him to return. When he came back, I would rush to greet him, but he said I was too clingy. Suddenly, the door opened. Kevin bent down to take off his shoes, frowning, his eyes falling on my bare feet. "Barefoot again on the floor? Where were you?" I didn't run into his arms as usual, nor did I tiptoe to kiss his chin while whispering how much I missed him. Kevin narrowed his eyes slightly, looking a little annoyed, then quickly walked over and lifted me into his arms. "The floor is cold." He lowered his gaze to mine with a smile. "Are you upset?" "I didn't ignore your messages on purpose. I was busy today." I slipped out of his arms and couldn't help but smile bitterly. He hadn't even realized that we had been at the same event, and that the one replaced by Julieta had been me. Kevin looked at me with confusion, his tone distant. "I've spoiled you too much lately." He rubbed his temples with a weary gesture. Looking at him, I felt a stabbing ache in my chest. A door that had never opened for me continuing to knock was, in fact, a kind of humiliation. Kevin. That name I had uttered countless times, from today on, would have nothing to do with me. "The engagement is cancelled. You're free." Kevin froze, his expression hardening, unaware of how ugly it made him look. Through clenched teeth, almost growling, he spat, "What did you say?" I rarely get angry. Overwhelming emotions interfere with my ability to think. But at that moment, it was impossible not to feel a surge of rage. I said you're free from now on. Don't you understand? I had always thought my relationship with Kevin was decent. No matter how much I liked him, I never degraded myself to crawl after him. Before we were together, the time we coincided most was in university. Even when I tried to run into him by chance, I was careful never to bother him in the slightest. To me, this relationship was something I longed for, fought for, and eventually achieved. There was no reason for us to end in hatred. Kevin said nothing, his gaze fixed on me for a long time. After a prolonged silence, he let out a short laugh. Jessica, you're not being rational today. When you calm down, we'll talk. He grabbed his coat from the back of a chair and left. I stood frozen in place, silent. As his footsteps faded, the world around me grew frighteningly still. The night pressed in with a deathly silence, wrapping me in its suffocating grip. Suddenly, nausea rose in my chest. The same tactic again. Just when I could no longer endure and my emotions were about to break, Kevin would toss out a light phrase like, "We'll talk when you calm down," and then detach himself. I used to admire that about him, always serene, carrying that noble air, as though nothing could ever shake him. No matter who sat at the table, he always played by his own rules. But after all these years, I realized I meant nothing to him. Perhaps I had never even had the right to sit at his table. I took deep breaths, forcing myself to calm down. Mechanically, I washed my face, but I couldn't sleep. I felt like a dried sponge, too drained even to think. Around 4 in the morning, the phone rang. I rushed to it in anxious anticipation, as though hoping to confirm something. On the screen flashed Misty's name. Not Kevin. I tried to sound as normal as possible, speaking loudly to cover my mood. "So late. What's wrong?" Misty's voice was quick, urgent. "You and Kevin were seen coming and going from several places on the same day. Quite the coincidence." I gripped the phone tightly. It wasn't the first time rumors like this had surfaced, but Misty usually dismissed them without question, swiftly releasing clarifications. This time, something felt different. "The team can handle it. Why call me?" The background noise was loud. She was clearly still busy. "It's out of control. Julieta is controlling the narrative on social media. The company accounts and your profile are flooded." "Calm the fans," I said flatly. Misty hung up quickly, no doubt rushing to find a solution. When I opened Instagram, the avalanche of notifications froze my phone for a moment. My latest post was no longer filled with the praises of fans, but comments dripping with hate. "Do you want to be the mistress? Pathetic. Too bad Ku doesn't even look at you. Look how he dotes on Julieta. Are you dying of jealousy or what? If you acted this well in dramas, you'd already have awards. Even if someone gave you away for free, no one would want you, loser. Julieta is devastated because of you. You should just die." Chapter 4. I was a little dazed, so I typed Julieta's name into the search bar. "Julieta V. I'm very sad. Before returning to the country, I had seen your interview and even thought I could learn from you, never imagining your character would be so despicable. Why must you do this? How can someone be so cruel? I couldn't understand, and I cried the whole night. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't know what to do. I truly cherished our relationship, I really did." The photo she uploaded was of a cute little cake decorated with care and 2 cups of bubble tea, and when zoomed in, the hand of a man could be seen, as if caught by accident. The internet quickly identified the watch on that hand as the same one Kevin had been wearing those days, and together with the paparazzi photos showing Kevin and me entering and leaving several places, I was accused of deliberately stalking him. Everything matched the ambiguity of Julieta's Instagram post. Furious fans and self-proclaimed internet justice warriors swarmed my account to pour out their hatred. The crueler they were to me, the more sincere their blessings appeared for Julieta and Kevin as a couple. But in reality, I was Kevin's fiancée, and never once did I receive a blessing that truly meant something. Of course, the moment I stepped aside, he ran eagerly to Julieta. He never accompanied me to public events, yet with Julieta, he had no problem flaunting their closeness. For her to win an award, he even resorted to methods he once claimed to despise. No matter how you looked at it, Julieta seemed far more like his girlfriend than I ever did. I smiled bitterly, stung by the truth. After calming my fans, I turned off my phone. Some believed me, but many did not. All that remained was to wait for Kevin's response. Deep down, I knew he would neither answer nor defend me, but still I wished with all my heart that he would, just once, stand on my side. It felt like walking a tightrope without preparation, suddenly thrown onto the stage, knowing full well I would fall, yet desperately wishing to delay that moment. Isn't one-sided love the same as walking a tightrope? But after going this far, how can you resign yourself? I counted the hours with sleepless eyes until dawn came, dressed quickly, and climbed into the van that came to pick me up, trying to bury everything in work. Kevin Koo made no statement. The insults against me on social media did not stop for days. When I said, "The truth will defend itself," no one believed me. They even sent me a list of 18 questions to answer. What was I supposed to do? Tell them that Kevin was the man who slept beside me? He would never admit it. If I didn't reach out, he wouldn't either. The one who called was Mrs. Koo. I heard they're saying a lot of nonsense online. Don't pay attention. As foolish as Kevin is, he would never cheat on you. I'll ask him to apologize to you right now. Are you okay, Jessica? Lowering my gaze, I answered. Not very well. She fell silent for a moment, then said softly, Jessica, you're a good girl. If you were my daughter, I wouldn't want you with Kevin. At first, I didn't like you, but over the years I've seen how much you've done for him. Even so, he's my son, and as his mother, I only want the two of you to be happy together. Leaning against the door, I watched the crew moving back and forth. It still wasn't my turn for the scene. The female lead in her school uniform smiled playfully at the male lead and nudged him with her elbow. He pretended to be annoyed, but tenderness shone in his eyes. Kevin and we never had memories like that. I didn't respond. Mrs. Koo called my name again. I averted my eyes. Ma'am, I don't think there's any destiny between us. I once thought that if I tried hard enough to show him how much I loved him, if he felt it, then he would eventually come to love me too. But it isn't so. Kevin may have agreed to marry me only because you approved. It could have been anyone else. And I, foolishly, believed that perhaps he saw me differently. It took only an instant for me to fall in love with Kevin, but 8 years to keep chasing him. Loving him so much blurred the line between whether I truly wanted him or simply couldn't stand to lose. Maybe it was a mix of both. In this unequal relationship, Kevin never got involved with another woman, and so I thought someday I would get an answer. But now he's shattered even that foolish hope of mine. I can't go on anymore. If I do, Jessica will stop being Jessica. Chapter 5. I saw Kevin again a week later. He was accompanying Julieta on the same program I was about to appear in. I could sense his barely disguised impatience behind a false courteous smile, yet no one on set seemed to notice. I sat down, and Kevin looked at me with total indifference, as if I were a stranger. I clenched my wrist, feeling the cold metal beneath my palm. Kevin had always been generous with gifts, and I had received many from him, but this bracelet he had given me on our anniversary as a couple. The illusion I felt that day now turned into nothing but sadness. I once thought he had remembered the date, that it was his clumsy way of responding to my love. But it was only a coincidence. That very day Julieta wanted to go shopping, and Kevin had gone with her. Perhaps in a fleeting moment he thought of me and simply bought something casually. And too imagined it was because he loved me. When I finally managed to let him go completely, I will take off this bracelet. That day is not far away. The production barely gave me any camera time, only requiring me to smile and say a few lines now and then. While Julieta chatted with the host, she suddenly changed the subject and mentioned me. By the way, I feel so sorry that Jessica received so many insults because of me. I truly regret it. That day I wasn't myself. I opened my mouth but couldn't bring myself to say, "It's okay." The atmosphere grew tense, so the host quickly jumped in with a smile. Of course, we all know it was just a misunderstanding. Why don't you tell us, Mr. Koo, what kind of relationship you have with Jessica? And with that, he threw the question directly at Kevin, smiling politely. It seemed like a way to make Julieta and me reconcile in public, but in truth he was handing the floor to the one with the most power on that stage. Kevin lifted his gaze and looked at me. I clenched my hand even tighter. His lips curved faintly, yet his eyes showed not a trace of warmth. He always wore that expression whenever he was about to do something cruel. He held my eyes and, in a tone dripping with false nonchalance, said, "Jessica and I were classmates. Now we're barely acquaintances." Barely acquaintances. Even though I had prepared myself, hearing those words struck like an avalanche of disappointment. I heard a faint sound, something falling to the ground. At last, I fell from the tightrope, just as I had expected. In front of the cameras, I managed only a stiff, polite smile, while with my other hand I fumbled to remove the bracelet. The clasp was difficult, and with my heart in shreds I failed again and again, my fingers reddened from friction. The male guest beside me noticed and, with a trace of compassion, offered his help. "Having trouble? Let me do it for you." I hesitated a moment, then finally extended my hand to him. I didn't realize that on the other side, Kevin's face had darkened completely. After the program, I uploaded a post on Instagram. Every Thursday, I post something that's a promise I made to my fans, one I've never broken. I waited a few minutes, then refreshed the comments. Along with the support of my followers came a flood of hateful messages. "Enough already. The lovebirds were kind enough to you. Don't do anything more that might cause misunderstandings. Kevin and Julieta are made for each other. You just don't fit. Did you see how Ku looked at you? Or rather, how he didn't. And that disgusted face of his. Stop embarrassing yourself. Focus on acting. You're a snake, a venomous snake. Please stop ruining their beautiful relationship. I'm begging you." My fingers traced the bracelet as I had done countless times before. Once I thought that when there's love, even water tastes sweet. Once I believed this bracelet was beautiful. Now looking at it, it seemed ordinary. Very ordinary. Perhaps Kevin only seemed so special because I had looked at him through the filter of my love. Without that filter, he was just another man. I almost threw it into the trash. But then I changed my mind. I listed it on a second-hand site, thinking it might serve some purpose one last time. Ding, the phone chimed. A message from Kevin, the first in many days. "If you don't come back now, then never come back again." Since I had moved out of his house, Kevin hadn't written me once. And that was the only thing he sent. I thought for a moment and replied, "I'm on my way." He didn't answer again. Chapter 6. I returned to Kevin's house. He sat on the sofa, looking at me with no expression at all. "Jessica, you've been thinking too highly of yourself lately. Quite the attitude. Didn't you come back because you expected me to beg you?" He clicked his tongue in irritation, his smile tinged with mocking malice. "Didn't I tell you already I don't know how to comfort anyone?" I knew perfectly well he had never loved me. Not once. And suddenly, a profound sadness swept over me. I had always believed in myself, held myself with pride, but because of Kevin I had humiliated myself again and again, demanding that I be better, blaming myself for not being enough. But not loving is simply not loving. Everything else is an excuse. That's not it. I only came to collect my things. What I said that day, I meant it. It wasn't an impulse. Kevin clenched his knuckles, his familiar gesture when restraining himself. "Jessica, stop making a scene. I won't forgive you a second time." As if to make it clear, he repeated, "There won't be a second time." His tone was light, his eyes cold. Under the light, his face had a chill that felt almost inhuman. Last year we had fought once before. Over something so trivial, I can't even remember the reason. Kevin hadn't understood. He tried to soothe me with a few words, and when that failed, he threatened, told me never to show up again. The moment I walked out of sight, the tears came uncontrollably. I spent an entire month unable to work, sunk in lethargy, unwilling to speak to anyone. The curtains in my room stayed drawn, and only occasionally would I glance out the window. My mind was chaos, and sometimes I cried for no reason. In the end, it was Mrs. Ku who asked Kevin to come apologize. She said, "I wondered why Kevin seemed so distracted today. The moment I told him to go find you, he went right away. Don't be upset anymore. Being together isn't easy." That "isn't easy" sounded like a casual piece of advice, but I knew what it had cost me to be with Kevin. Falling in love can happen in an instant. Kevin had been my senpai in high school. From the moment I enrolled, I heard his stories. As a mathematics Olympiad student, he had earned a direct admission to an elite university. The day he returned to our school to give a lecture, I saw him from the audience. I saw his overflowing confidence, the aura of someone who could handle anything. In the midst of the noise, I thought, I want to be like him. The second time I saw him, I was sitting on the stairs, crying in frustration over a problem I couldn't solve. That old building was hardly used, except for specific activities. Kevin came up the stairs and was surprised to see me. I thought no one would be here in such a deserted place. Then he noticed my tears and, a little embarrassed, murmured, "Sorry." I lowered my head and said nothing, staring at the exercise book on my knees. Kevin glanced at it, as if he understood. In a serious tone, he spoke just 2 sentences. "Hard work pays off. Don't give up, little one." I never forgot. I still remember the stains on the walls of that old building, the ivy climbing outside, the rustle of leaves in the wind. What I didn't know was that he would make my heart race like that. Later I learned the problem I couldn't solve had 4 different solutions. But what I never figured out was how to make Kevin fall in love with me. After he brought me home, we both avoided talking about it. Maybe deep down I already knew we wouldn't last, but I refused to admit it. I looked at him now, his figure slowly merging with that memory of that afternoon. The wind stirred the ivy outside, whispering softly. I pretended indifference, but glanced at him out of the corner of my eye. He hadn't noticed then, and he didn't notice now. With one look, I fell in love for 8 years. And with one more, I accepted that I should never have. I told him, "We're finished. Please tell your mother yourself." In the absolute silence, Kevin frowned, and when he saw I wouldn't take it back, fury clouded his eyes. His fist tightened violently. He lowered his gaze to me with a cold voice. "Think carefully. If you cross that door, it will be the end." I nodded. Few people even knew we were together. "I won't say anything." I didn't have many things to take with me, so I packed quickly, and when I left I didn't look back. All I heard was a dull thud behind me. 8 years ago, I had looked at him in secret for the very first time, and today, 8 years later, that moment came to its end. Chapter 7. Perhaps Kevin was angry because I was the one who proposed ending things first, and that deeply affected my career. Many projects that were originally mine were reassigned to Julieta. Misty noticed right away. "Did you say something you shouldn't have? Did you offend Julieta?" she asked, and before I could reply she added, "I told you already, she has very powerful backing. You shouldn't have crossed her." I flipped through the new script they had handed me. The quality had dropped so much. Most of them were low-budget dramas that wouldn't even make it to television. Misty looked at me uneasily. "You know how it is. It's not that I don't want to help you. But every deal we close, Julieta ends up with the lead role. Right now, people in the industry are beginning to avoid you. Everyone's in the same circle. No one wants to offend Kevin." I nodded calmly. I had always known Kevin was no saint. Otherwise, he wouldn't have risen so quickly in his family's internal struggle to take over his father's position at such a young age. And yet, the thought of ever being with him, of ever loving him so fervently, still made me sick. Being young means having poor vision, but fortunately I had cured mine. I pointed at one of the scripts that at least looked a little better and asked Misty, "This one doesn't look so bad. Could you check if there's a chance?" Misty sighed. "Why do you do this to yourself? Everyone says you offended Julieta, and now, even I'm starting to believe it. Jessica, sometimes it's not necessary to stand so straight." She touched my waist lightly, as if suggesting I should bend, apologize, and yield. "Misty, I know you mean well, but if I did nothing wrong, I won't pretend I did." I smiled to reassure her.
"Don't worry about me.
Even if I stop acting, I won't starve. And besides, I'm not there yet. As long as I still have work, I'll give it my best. I've always been like that. In high school, I wanted to be like Kevin, so I studied relentlessly. I wasn't chosen for direct admission, but I still made it into Tsinghua.
Even my old school boasted about me."
After graduation, I wanted to make money, so I decided to start a business. I used every resource I had and pushed myself to the limit. Even when a man approached me saying he made $30 million a year and wanted to support me, my first reaction was, "How do you make it?
Can you teach me?"
My project, since freshman year, gave me 7-figure annual income. And when I was still in university, still dreaming of winning Kevin's heart, I created opportunities, approached patiently, never desperate. I started with his friends, then with him. I never neglected my studies, always top of my field. Later, when I stepped into the entertainment world, though my career had nothing to do with acting, I seized every audition I could. I filmed by day, studied by night, sleeping only 4 or 5 hours at times. Sometimes I even dreamed of the scenes. That's why even if I stop being an actress, it doesn't matter. If I decide to return to study and do research, I know I can achieve just as much as my former classmates. If I decide to sell crepes on the street, mine will be the most delicious in the neighborhood. I am diligent, I am smart, I never give up, and because of that, whatever I do well. Misty eventually managed to secure me that script, but unfortunately, though they initially offered me the lead role, the very next day they changed their minds and gave me the supporting role. Misty was furious, but I calmed her down and accepted. Having a role, even a small one, was still a chance to prove myself. Doing nothing would only make things worse. Giving up has never been an option for me, even though the female lead was Julieta. What was strange was that Julieta would even agree to take part in such a cheap production. If it hadn't been for some pressure, I wouldn't have accepted it either. As an actress, the goal is to keep your record clean. The audience isn't like fans. If they think you lack talent, they won't give you a second chance. On the first day of filming, I saw Kevin. The director was explaining a scene to Julieta, and Kevin never left her side. Misty frowned when she saw it and muttered, "With that attitude, the rumors must be true." Instinctively, I followed her gaze, and just at that moment Kevin looked up and our eyes met. I smiled silently. Yes, they do look good together. The sun was harsh, burning into my chest. I wondered if the me from 8 years ago would regret seeing how I ended up. I thought about it carefully and realized no. I do things because I want to. Not doing them, that is what would make me regret. I calmly looked away. Kevin's face slowly twisted, his expression turning glacial. Misty leaned close and asked, "Why do I feel like Kevin hates you more than he hates Julieta?" I stopped flipping through my script. Really? Misty scanned my face with suspicion. What connection do you even have with him? I couldn't blame her for thinking that. From the outside, Kevin and I seemed worlds apart. Isn't it a pity? Me being such a good person, and he can't even stand me. He has terrible taste. Misty laughed, tapped me on the head with her finger, and said between chuckles, "Oh, you Chapter 8. As the second villain in the script, I had many scenes with the female lead, and whenever Kevin came to wait for Julieta, inevitably he would see me. And every time his expression was unpleasant. My relationship with the crew worsened too. Everyone whispered that the rumors on Instagram were true. That's why Kevin looked so displeased with me. That tension lingered until I finally finished filming all my scenes. The last one was a night shoot. When we wrapped, it was almost 3 in the morning. I changed clothes and stepped out of the set, standing by the roadside waiting for the car Misty had sent to pick me up. Headlights approached, and instinctively I walked toward the light. The window rolled halfway down, and a hand holding a cigarette hung outside. Sometimes knowing someone too well can be terrifying. With just one glance, I knew it was Kevin. His long, narrow eyes scanned me, and just as I was about to turn away and leave, he suddenly spoke. "I'll take you home." No need. Someone is already coming for me. I never imagined the day would come when speaking to him would leave me completely indifferent. Kevin, as if unable to contain his unease, inhaled twice on his cigarette, his chest rising slightly. "Jessica, you were the one who said you loved me. How can you just stop feeling like that?" Kevin truly had beautiful eyes. I had looked into them so many times before, but this was the first time I saw an emotion that resembled sadness. Patiently, I answered, "Kevin, we're over. You have a girlfriend now. The least you should do is be faithful." He froze, and then a surprising light flickered in his eyes. "It's not like that. Julieta once saved my grandfather's life. I was only repaying that favor, and I've already done it. These past days I've been looking for you. You're the one avoiding me." His lips pressed into a tight line, his posture stiffened as if nervous. I didn't know what had caused this sudden change in him, but I no longer cared. "It doesn't matter. The person picking me up is here." He wanted to say more, but I had lost all patience. Don't come crawling back like some pathetic fool. The disdain in my eyes seemed to wound him, and he froze in place. Chapter 9. At the closing party, everyone raised their glasses to toast Kevin. I went along, lifting mine just a little lower than his. He used to say our relationship was completely equal, so no matter how much wealthier he was than me, no matter how much higher his social status stood, when we drank together my glass should never tilt lower. One day, I'll walk by your side with dignity, head held high. Kevin would always smile at me with that expression, like I was a little girl who didn't yet understand. After a few rounds, his warm breath brushed my ear as he laughed and said, "Junior, you have to work hard, okay?" He had long forgotten the girl who once cried on the staircase, but that phrase etched itself into me. He liked seeing me bewildered. When he noticed I had deliberately lowered my glass, Kevin looked at me incredulously, then shifted his own to the side. I lowered my voice. "Don't move away. If you do, we won't look like ordinary friends." In an instant, Kevin's expression sharpened, his eyes reddened, and he looked at me with chilling coldness. His voice came out rough, as though it hurt him to speak. "Ordinary friends? Jessica, am I your ordinary friend?" Julieta tried to take his hand, but Kevin quickly pulled away, spilling wine. Julieta's face filled with sorrow, her eyes brimming with tears. I set my glass down on the table. "Forgive me, I overstepped with Mr.
Coo.
We're not ordinary friends, we're just old classmates. I don't want to spoil the mood, so I'll leave." Ignoring the shocked gazes around me, I grabbed my bag and walked away. Behind me, hurried footsteps followed. Kevin came after me. I turned and saw his lost expression, as if he wanted to say something. It's been a long time since we last saw each other. His face looked as though he were reliving some memory. I couldn't help but sneer. "That line? I sent it to you so many times before. To parrot it back to me now, how uncreative." His face hardened. "You never read them, did you?" Kevin said nothing, and I knew I was right. When I was persistent, I could send him dozens of messages a day. Surely they annoyed him. He probably just opened them and deleted them. I had chosen my words carefully, tried again and again to share emotions, my daily life, but never got a reply. Not even a scene. Kevin rushed to say, "From now on," but I cut him off. There is no from now on. "Stay away from me." Kevin froze, unsure what to do. Many times I had felt the same, watching him walk away without ever looking back. In the end, he didn't follow me. I breathed a sigh of relief. I didn't want to see him again. I had barely rested at home when I received a message from one of Kevin's friends. "Sister-in-law, Kevin is drunk. He won't stop asking for you." During filming, I had added Julieta as a friend. Without much thought, I forwarded the message to her. "Control your dog." The next morning, when I woke up, every trending topic was about the two of them. Kevin and Julieta almost engaged. I clicked into 3 similar posts on Instagram. Netizens were celebrating, claiming it was already confirmed by people on set. Especially since Julieta had spoken out herself. She posted on Instagram, "You always said if I hadn't gone abroad, everything would be different. But I believe that after everything we've lived through, what we have now carries even more meaning. If I hadn't left, would there have been room for others? Sometimes you have to make space for opportunities, don't you?" Her post ended with a giggling emoji. Soon a new tag trended, "The power of a goddess." Even on short video apps, every clip was of them together, cheesy music in the background, the romantic atmosphere turned up to the maximum. Things reached a point where many demanded an official response, as if everyone had already decided they were in a relationship. But one comment from Kevin changed everything instantly. "There's nothing between Julieta and me. I only looked after her out of gratitude. Yesterday, drunk, the only person I wanted to come for me was my fiancée. I never sent any message to Julieta. Stop making things up. Those who toy with public opinion are eventually devoured by it." Kevin was. Julieta too. Some lashed out at Julieta for using any means to marry into wealth. Others insulted Kevin for lacking courage. Some even came to my Instagram to apologize. A few began to wonder if the fiancé Kevin mentioned was me, though most dismissed it as just rumor. That was fine with me. I closed Instagram. Chapter 10. Since the scandal on Instagram, Julieta's and Kevin's fans hadn't stopped fighting. It seemed Julieta wanted to patch things up with Kevin because she went to his company several times. She hadn't shown up to filming for a long while, stirring her fans' discontent. Even her own fan club was in chaos. I didn't pay attention to any of it. Misty told me everything. With those two out of my way, I could finally focus fully on my career. I won several awards, earning recognition from critics and audiences alike. It couldn't be called explosive success, but at least the path ahead of me was wider now. Even Misty, not one for sentimentality, allowed herself a reflection. Before, whenever the media compared you to Julieta, everyone said you weren't at her level. Now, no one dares put you next to her. Congratulations, Jessica. You're recognized as a true actress. I smiled as I turned the page of a script, because you once told me that acting is the lifeblood of an actor. I never forgot that. And thank you for never giving up on me. Today I no longer had to accept any role out of desperation. I could choose good stories and work with good directors. Misty glanced at the script in my hands and grew serious. You should thank yourself. You're the one who never abandoned yourself. And this project you have, it's not bad. The director is, I smiled at her. Yes, thanks to the Jessica, who is always strong and brave. Misty still didn't know that I had a story with Kevin. She didn't know that he once waited under my building night after night, while I never went down. I had told him, if you know you hurt me, then don't bother me anymore. That's the best kind of apology you can give me. A love that arrives too late is better not to arrive at all. That was what hurt the most because it meant he knew what I wanted, he could give it but chose not to. Back then he was so convinced I would never leave, so arrogant, so dismissive. He treated me as though I didn't matter. No matter how much you love someone, you should never crawl for love. If you make yourself too small, you forget how to love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, it's hard for anyone else to love you. The last time I saw him was at the hospital. Mrs. Koo had begged me to visit. I looked at him through the glass. Kevin, pale, lying weakly in bed. I've seen enough. I'll go now. The hope in Mrs. Koo's eyes dimmed. She took my hand and asked, I know it's selfish of me to ask this, but can't you start again? You and Kevin had a foundation. He's just too proud. Since you left, he hasn't stopped drinking. This time it ended in a stomach hemorrhage. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I called you. I pulled my hand away. Madam, with all due respect, that's not fair. I didn't hurt Kevin, and I have every right to end a relationship I no longer want.
Please don't contact me again.
It could cause misunderstandings. Mrs. Koo seemed lost for a moment, then murmured, I understand. As I was almost out of the hospital, something made me turn back. I ran to her and hugged her. Thank you for accepting me. Truly thank you. In the beginning, no one believed in me. Everyone said I wasn't good enough to be with Kevin. I endured hurtful words and scornful looks. But you were the first to see the sincerity of my feelings. Since then, you always protected me, allowed me a time of peace and stability. I truly felt your care. But sadly, you are Kevin's mother. What bound us together was Kevin. Even our engagement was because of you. After this time, I may never see you again. I noticed a faint shine in her eyes. She ruffled my hair gently and said, You're a good girl. The unlucky one was Kevin. He deserves it. I let out a small laugh. I know. I turned and waved goodbye. Of course I knew. I am hardworking, determined, and strong. Independent, intelligent, and with a mind of my own. I am an exceptional woman. And if I am not loved, it is not my fault. After all, the road ahead of me is wide and full of possibilities. I will not let a man slow my rise. I was not made to be with Kevin. I was made to be his rival. When I climb another step, my goal will be to become capital myself. My original idea was to start my own production company, and if that means competing directly with Kevin, then so be it. It doesn't matter. I love my ambition. With Kevin, I learned many things, and now I'm eager to see everything my ambition can achieve. Extra Chapter 1. People are truly strange. Kevin once placed Julieta on a pedestal, cherishing her so highly, while keeping me so low. But after I left, it was he who couldn't accept it. Julieta and Kevin remained entangled for a long time, but in the end it seemed Kevin grew tired of her because she disappeared from the scene for quite some time. During a break in filming, I was chatting with Misty, who spoke in an unusually reflective tone. Who would have thought? Julieta, once so popular, now only lands filler roles. Her ego is through the roof, but she's made too many enemies. They say she's suffering now. In her last period drama, she played a palace maid, and the supporting actress made her repeat a scene so many times her knees ended up bruised. I paused for a moment scrolling my phone. After replying to 3 sweet comments from my fans, I slowly lifted my gaze. Why do you care about that? Better pay attention to me. Misty tapped my head in frustration. You really don't hold grudges. I smiled. It's not worth it. If I could split myself in 2 to work, I would. I have no time to worry about how others are doing. Climbing to the level of capital is a hard road. Thousands upon thousands want in. Some are more diligent, more capable, smarter than me. But not all have the experience and resources I have. Attending an elite university allowed me to build valuable networks. Succeeding in business before graduation gave me immense confidence. And that 1 year spent at Kevin's side, watching how he managed his company without ever hiding anything from me, was a masterclass. Maybe to him, I was just a vine clinging to him, which is why he didn't bother to conceal anything. Now the company is in its early stages, and I am completely absorbed in work. Misty glanced around discreetly. You and Kevin, did you have something in the past? He seems different with you. I lifted my eyes and spotted Kevin in the distance. Lately, he was always nearby. Anyone, no matter how oblivious, would notice there was something there. We dated. We broke up. I don't know what's gotten into him now. Misty let out a small gasp before quickly recovering. When was that? And why didn't you ever tell me? After telling her everything, Misty looked at me with a mixture of anger and pity. And you don't want to expose those two? So many people insulted you back then. Resting my head on my hand, I answered calmly. And what then? Should I spend my whole life tied to Kevin and that dirty chapter? If people talk about Jessica, I'd rather it be for my talent, not for gossip about a failed relationship. No thank you. He may have an impressive title, but he chose the wrong partner. He has great achievements, but his love life was a disappointment. He is incredibly capable, yet he was never truly loved. People love to fixate on the romantic lives of women. I don't need that kind of attention. You're going to suffer a lot like this, Misty sighed. I patted her hand. It was my choice. I accept the good and the bad. But I'm not suffering. Look at how well I'm doing now. Misty looked at me with even more tenderness and ruffled my hair affectionately. Extra Chapter 2. On Sunday, I was invited to take part in a street variety show. With the route map the production team gave me, I followed the path until I reached the location. Pushing open the cafe door, I came face to face with someone I never wanted to see again. The moment Kevin saw me, his eyes lit up instantly. I looked at him with cold indifference, and the cameraman following us whispered, Jessica, reminding me to be careful. Can I change partners? I asked. The director accompanying us waved his hand quickly, baffled by why I, always so professional, suddenly changed my demeanor. Kevin immediately stood up and rushed to me. I'm sorry. For all the pain I caused you in the past, I just want a chance to make it up to you. You really enjoy humiliating yourself, don't you? His face went pale, unsure how to respond. I know I was wrong. You love me, and I love you too. We can start over, right? We were together for more than a year. Wasn't it good between us? I took 2 steps back. Mr. Koo, you're too deep in character. We were just classmates in college. There's no need to act this part. Kevin stared at me, his eyes reddening. Why do you want to deny everything we had? We were engaged. We loved each other. That year together was happy. I couldn't help but let out a sarcastic laugh. 8 years. They were my 8 years. Kevin froze, not understanding right away. His voice turned rough as he asked, What? When I remember it all now, I can no longer smile. When you truly want to win, there is no smile left on your face. 8 years. 3 years of high school when I never allowed myself a single day of rest, afraid that if I relaxed even for a second, I would fall behind. 4 years of university so that I could legitimately approach you, playing strategy like a video game, befriending your friends, getting close to you, never slacking in my studies, carrying the burden of a studio. While others rested, I analyzed cases, wrote plans, attended meetings. When I graduated and entered the entertainment industry, by chance I met Mrs.
Cool.
She saw how much I loved you and arranged our engagement. Each of those days that seemed ordinary to you were the result of a long, grueling path for me. You thought it was pleasant because I forced myself to love you. With every word I spoke, anguish deepened on his face. Why didn't you tell me all this? For what? My love was never a burden to anyone. Only now, when I feel nothing for you, not even indifference but disgust, can I finally say it. I already told you, don't bother me again. What do you want from this show? To force me back into your life? Kevin's face turned pale, his expression pleading. He murmured, No, I don't want to force you. As he spoke, he reached for my hand, but I pulled away quickly. His hand hung in the air, and from his lashes fell silent tears. I watched one splatter onto the ground and almost laughed. Kevin, you're truly strange. When I loved you, you didn't love me. Now that I don't care, you come crawling after me like a lost dog. When your mother proposed the engagement, why didn't you refuse? And afterward, when we were together, why didn't you say you didn't love me? Did I ever harass you? Did I ever pressure you until you were uncomfortable? I always stayed in a safe zone, never saying or doing anything inappropriate. Every time I felt my feelings might overwhelm you, I withdrew immediately. After we ended, I never used your name to gain fame, never sought public sympathy through our relationship. With you, I did everything I could with decency and dignity. I admit there were moments I couldn't control my emotions when I wanted to get closer, to ask Kevin for an embrace. But that was only after you accepted your mother's arrangement and we got engaged. Why didn't you say no from the very beginning? Why didn't you say you disliked it all along? I spent years guessing, does he like me? Does he feel something for me? Could we last forever? I wore myself out emotionally until Julieta appeared, and I realized I no longer loved myself. How could I not love myself? How could I treat myself with so little care? In that moment, I decided to run. A decision made in an instant, but built upon countless moments of disappointment. The year Kevin remembered was in fact 8 years of my wholehearted love. Every day I lived felt like a reward to my teenage self, and I lost myself in it. That unreachable figure from my youth was hard to forget. But after being with him, the obsession dissipated. He didn't deserve my love. The Kevin I loved was the one from when I was 16, the vibrant boy who once stood before all the students and said, "Thanks to this world where heroes don't need origins, I can stand here today." The senior who, seeing me crying on the stairs over a problem I couldn't solve, told me with firm seriousness, "Keep trying, little one." In my youth he was invincible. Not even he could surpass the memory he left behind. The Kevin of now, and that Kevin from back then, they seemed like two completely different people. Extra Chapter 3. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Kevin kept repeating apologies, his voice trembling. You don't need to apologize. I learned many things with you too. If you really want to make it up, stop bothering me. Honestly, the way you are now disgusts me. I saw his fingers trembling slightly. In a low, pleading voice he whispered, "Don't be like this. Please, I beg you." Then I beg you, never appear before me again. I paid him no more attention and turned to the director beside us. I'm sorry, but this episode can't be aired. When we record again, I'll adjust to your schedule. Kevin stood frozen, trembling as he covered his face. He looked like he was crying. How pathetic. I haven't even shed tears, but if we have to record again, I'll lose my few free days. The director looked at me nervously, glancing toward Kevin Koo. This episode was at Mr. Koo's request. He paused, swallowed hard, and finally added, "This is being broadcast live." A buzzing exploded in my head. When I got home, I opened my phone. Kevin were engaged 8 years were years, was her biggest regret, Julieta. The trending topics were almost entirely dominated by the program. I read the comments silently. I knew it, I always knew Jessica wasn't what they said she was. The Jessica I admire is strong and wonderful. I love you so much. My God, when Jessica said it was 8 years, Even people who weren't fans broke down crying. Girl, don't box yourself in because of your gender. I'm also a woman, but I'm young, beautiful, rich, with a good personality, always online. I answer messages instantly. I bathe in 5 minutes, look at me. I used to defend Julieta, and even called Jessica a whore. Now I want to go back in time and slap myself. Never again will I judge without knowing. Some people are ridiculous. Are you deaf or just brainless? She said she never harassed him. She just loved someone for 8 years, fought for 8 years, and you think she deserves that kind of abuse? Do you really feel accomplished attacking the heart of a woman who loved? I saw that edited clip, and I related completely. Back in school, I liked a brilliant boy, though he probably doesn't even remember me. Ha ha ha. It's funny, I'm over 30 now, and I still remember. When you're young and in love, you never forget. Everyone is fixated on her love life, but am I the only one who thinks she's incredible? When she wants something, she gives it her all. She loves bravely, and when she doesn't anymore, she cuts cleanly. She never played the victim to win sympathy. I can't imagine how strong she must be inside. As always, I posted something on Instagram because it was Thursday, then I turned off my phone. I started preparing the company's next project. The salary and benefits I offered were among the most competitive in the industry, attracting a lot of quality talent. Although there were some setbacks, overall things were going well. The next project would put me directly against Kevin. I knew him very well, but he didn't know me. He didn't even realize that the one competing with him for resources these days was me. It wasn't intentional, it was simply a necessity of business development. It was hard to avoid. Extra Chapter 4. 3 years later, I had won practically every national and international award. Of the talented actors I worked with, none were out of my reach, only some I wasn't interested in. The company grew rapidly, and our reputation among actors became a benchmark in the industry, proving that fame and prestige are not incompatible. I put at the forefront a phrase Misty once told me. Acting is the lifeblood of an actor. Competing in the market was a war of attrition. At first, there were failures, but thankfully we adjusted in time and recovered most of our losses. Perhaps because he had been pushed too far and realized he had lost to me, Kevin abandoned his usual style and started making rash decisions. After several poor choices that caused severe losses to his company, on the very same day the board voted to remove him, he came looking for me. "Does this make you happier?" he asked. I was a little taken aback. "If you have mental problems, you should get treatment as soon as possible." My aversion to him grew stronger each day, because every time people talked about me, they always had to mention him too, with that so-called expert tone. I didn't care who you were with before, so when my mother asked if I was okay, I nodded. Later, I realized that at that time, I did like you a little. "I'm so sorry. It wasn't until after you left that I understood my true feelings. I thought you would never go." I sighed and smiled. "It doesn't matter." I gave Misty a glance, and she caught the signal instantly. Misty made a call, and shortly after Julieta rushed in. The moment she saw Kevin, she ran toward him. "Why are you still in love with her after the way she treats you? You're pathetic, truly pathetic. And on top of that, you stepped on me for her. Am I not enough for you? Don't I love you enough? I even endured being insulted for being the mistress. Are you sure you want to continue this conversation here?" I asked calmly, glancing at them both. Several colleagues were already watching. Kevin's eyes turned cold. Julieta, though frightened, still tried to approach and pull him away. "Don't touch me," he snapped. "How can you treat me like this? When I said I wanted to study abroad, you paid for everything without a word. And after I came back, I didn't want to keep watching their drama, so I called security to have them escorted out." Kevin stared at me in disbelief, his face caught between humiliation and pain. I knew exactly what stung him. It was realizing that in everything he once had, he no longer surpassed me in anything. He had once stood at the peak of power, knowing how intoxicating authority could be. He thought that sooner or later I would return to him because he had power and self-assurance. But now fate had changed, and I felt nothing for him anymore. After they left, Misty came over, resigned. "Do you think Julieta doesn't realize? If she wanted a man, she should have just asked for a big sum of money and left." I heard Julieta's been trying to find Kevin again, hoping he would help her like before. When I called her, She didn't even ask questions and came right away. But now Kevin can't help her anymore. I tugged gently on Misty's hand. Stop gossiping, okay? We have a group of new talents. Want to come see them with me? Misty averted her eyes and nodded. Let's go. Later, I don't remember exactly which day it was, Misty told me the two were still entangled. And somehow, Julieta had ended up pregnant with Kevin's child. Kevin wanted to force Julieta to have an abortion, but she refused. The two of them fought openly in the streets. Mrs. Ku could no longer bear it and demanded Kevin take responsibility for his actions. Julieta stopped working completely, yet her expenses remained extravagant. Vain as ever, she continued buying designer clothes every season. Every time a reporter photographed her, she posed proudly with her swollen belly. It didn't take long before Julieta drained Kevin of all his money. Kevin, suffering from severe gastritis, could no longer bear it, while Julieta showed no concern, demanding he go out and earn more. They never stopped fighting. Since the money Kevin gave was never enough, Julieta began borrowing, thinking she would somehow manage to pay it back. But all she did was cover one hole with another, and soon they were crushed under a mountain of debt neither could repay. When I saw them again, I could hardly believe it was them. They looked completely destroyed, misery etched into their faces. Kevin saw me and seemed to shrink, and as if unable to stop himself, he murmured, "It's been a long time. I have stomach cancer. Maybe I don't have much time left. I suppose this is karma." He gave a bitter smile. I felt a flicker of compassion. I have a good heart, so don't say things like that to me. I don't want to hear it. His head shot up, eyes filled with desperate hope. Misty, have them removed. We rented this place for today's program, and I truly don't want to hear these things. Julieta's face twisted, and she immediately lunged at Kevin, scratching. It's all your fault. How shameful. Shameful? You drugged me, lived off me, and now I'm the one who should be ashamed. Misty had them thrown out, and I didn't involve myself further. A while later, the production crew arrived and began my interview. The host asked the inevitable question. I think many netizens share my curiosity. Jessica, how do you see that past experience of being hurt in love? Was it very painful realizing you weren't the chosen one? How did you overcome it? And is that the reason you haven't started a new relationship in so long? Fear, perhaps? I thought for a moment and voiced a doubt that had tormented me for years. Why does everyone insist on casting me as the victim? It's not that I wasn't chosen, it's that I chose wrong. That doesn't stop me from being a good actress or from growing my company. In my university entrance exam, I lost just 1 point and I still got into Tsinghua. Isn't it normal to make mistakes sometimes? It's not fear that keeps me from starting a new relationship. I simply haven't met someone I like. Why should I cry over the 1 point I lost when I still had nearly 700 more? The host, realizing his question wasn't so clever, laughed awkwardly and shifted the topic. And what are your plans for the future? Could you share them with us? I considered for a moment and replied sincerely, to do what I love. Maybe tomorrow I'll be picking up trash on the street, who knows? But to keep walking bravely forward, that's how Jessica answers to herself. Extra Chapter 5. October 9th, 2023. A friend of mine who studied in France suddenly messaged me. Egli has stopped publishing. When we were young, she and I had been very close, though over time we drifted apart. The few words she wrote struck me softly in the chest, leaving me dazed. I knew that was the magazine she had loved most as a teenager. Once a teacher had confiscated it, and when she told me, she was so angry she nearly jumped up and down. I had never read that magazine, but I knew it was a fragment of her youth. It felt as though it had been only yesterday that she walked down the street with me, saying, I was reading it during recess and he took it away. I hate him. I smiled gently at the memory of her expression. Neither of us realized that day would be the last time we saw each other. Just as I had known that the man I chased for 8 years would end in such disgrace. That look was the last. I replied, youth passes far too quickly. Later she asked me, shall we see each other someday? I miss you so much. I answered, you choose the day, I'll fly to you. That was something my 16-year-old self could never have done. At 16, everything was beautiful, but I also love my 26-year-old self. I am no longer lost, no longer desperately searching for what I lack. I am already whole, just as I am. And I love myself so much.